Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Funds for Recovery and Operations Management, the From Fluvanna Small Business Grants webinar. I hope everyone can hear me well. If anything comes up, you can feel free to drop it into the chat, and we'll go from there. So I'm Brian Rothmel. I am the Economic Development Coordinator for Fluvanna County. I grew up in Fluvanna, so I am from Fluvanna. I went to High Point University, graduating with a degree in journalism in 2009. I worked as a reporter covering Fluvanna for 8 years before I joined the Economic Development Office in 2019. Before we get into the From Fluvanna grants, I want you to know about the From Fluvanna app. It's your one-stop shop for all businesses from Fluvanna. Any business from Fluvanna can be listed. We currently have over 300 businesses listed on the app. If you are not on there or you need to update your information, you can do that from the app. It sends me an email with your updated information, and I'll be happy to update it. You just click on the Add a Listing. It offers options to link your e-commerce store, your website, and your Facebook page, along with your phone number and address. And really, this just gives residents a list of businesses from Fluvanna, someplace where residents can go and get everything about Fluvanna businesses in one spot. We launched this in June. It is not a recommendation list. It is purely just the list for businesses from Fluvanna. So just go to app.fromfluvanna.org. And when you go on and you click on the little 3 dots there to the top left, and you click on food and drink, you can click on restaurant, and then you can see a list of restaurants, including how far you are from the restaurant, the address, and then when you click into a restaurant, it gives information about phone number, website, email, Facebook, and even on the bottom there you can see a map to get to the location. So we're very proud of this app. We update it all the time. If any information about your business is wrong, please let us know, or if you want to update anything, please let us know. So the reason why everyone's here, it's the From Fluvanna Small Business Grants. Again, that's Funds for Recovery and Operations Management. So what we will cover today, we will cover both the for-profit and private schools portion, as well as the nonprofit portion. We have 2 programs. So one program is for-profit and private schools, and the other one's for just nonprofits. So if you are a private school that is nonprofit, you are in the for-profit and private schools section. We'll go over how are you eligible, how much grant money you can receive, what expenses the grant can cover, how and when do you apply and what do you need to do, is there a priority for the applications, and can I still apply for this if I've received other loans and grants. Now the eligibility, we have $900,000 of the $4.7 million that the county was given from the CARES Act. Eligibility is you must be operational as of March 27th. You must be based out of Fluvanna. This does not require a physical location, so you can be a home-based business. Your operations need to come out of Fluvanna. You need to be current on your local taxes if you're a for-profit business. Money cannot be used to become current on your taxes. If you are not current on your taxes and you become current, then you'll be able to apply. And then if you're a for-profit, and then eligibility is for-profit businesses or nonprofit private schools, 700,000 of the 900 was set aside for that group. And then for nonprofit entities, we have 200,000 set aside from the 900. Now, the for-profit and nonprofit private schools portion, so as I said, it was 700,000 set aside, 338,000 of it was awarded in round 1. That left 362,000 remaining for this portion for round 2. The amount awarded for 0 full-time employees, now those would be your farmers, your artisans, and your part-time business owners. They're eligible to up to $2,500. If you have 1 full-time employee, so you're a sole entrepreneur, you are eligible to up to $5,000. If you have 2 to 20, you're eligible up to $10,000. 21 to 50, you're eligible for $15,000. and 51 and over employees, you're eligible up to $20,000. People have asked, how do we determine full-time employees? If you have 2 employees that are working 20 hours each, they each are half of a full-time equivalent employee. So when you take all of your part-time employees, if they add up to over 40 hours, that would be a one full-time equivalent. So keep that in mind. The differentiating factor between 0 full-time employees and 1 full-time employee is if you have a business on the side, but you yourself are getting income, a higher percentage of your income comes from some other operation, then you are a 0 full-time equivalent business. But if you have a business and your primary source of income is your business, then you are 1 full-time equivalent employee. So it's based off of where is your primary source of income. If your primary source of income is your business, then that makes you a full-time equivalent employee as the business owner. For the nonprofit entities, now remember, nonprofit entities do not include private schools. We have $200,000 set aside for this. $60,000 was awarded in round 1, and $140,000 remain. You must be a 501c3, C4, or C6. And the amount awarded will be, if you provided a community need, you'd be eligible for up to $15,000. That will include you provided food, childcare, or other household needs throughout the pandemic. It cannot be you did a one-off and just did 1 food drive. It needs to be a continual thing that you've done throughout the pandemic. You would be eligible for $15,000. All other nonprofits will be eligible for up to $5,000. Now, expenses that you can claim for the grant. You must show a revenue loss or expenditure increase due to the COVID-19 health crisis. Costs can be used for PPE, redesign of structure of operations, such as social distancing requirements. This may include websites, e-commerce, or other digital forms of communicating to customers and clients to limit face-to-face interaction. You also can do payroll or other operating expenses, rent or mortgage payments, debt incurred because of COVID-19 disruption, teleworking, or loss of revenue based on the Forward Virginia guidelines. Now, the big thing to remember is this all has to be related to COVID-19 health crisis. If you've been paying rent on your facility for the last 2 years, you cannot claim your rent payment as a COVID-19 health expense. Please keep that in mind. Everything has to be COVID-19 related. Now, if you've had lost revenue and you need, you would have used your revenue that you expected on rent or mortgage, you can then claim lost revenue and be reimbursed for the lost revenue that you sustained because of the COVID-19 health crisis. Costs cannot be used for becoming current on your local taxes or expenses incurred before March 1st, 2020. This is the same list for both our nonprofit and our for-profit portions of our program. Please remember, everything that you do for the From Fluvanna grant, it has to be with the focus, this was because of COVID-19. If you have been buying more hand sanitizer than you did previously, those are expenses related to COVID-19. If you've added anything that you've had to do because of COVID-19, this is kind of the focus that you need to think about as you're applying for the grant. Now, the for-profit and private schools priority list, if we become oversubscribed, that means we have more people request money than we have available, then we will use the priority list of if you were closed during phase 3, closed during phase 2, closed during phase 1, then partially open during phase 3, partially open during phase 2, and partially open during phase 1. And then the last people that would receive funding is remained open but suffered financial loss. This will only be used if we are oversubscribed. We were not oversubscribed for the first priority deadline, the first round. So I highly recommend that everyone apply and not think that we will get too many applications. This is money that the county has received and set aside for businesses. Please apply if you need the funding. Now, how we determine closed, partially, or open? Closed is considered you have less than 10% of your revenue. Partially open, it would be about 50% of your revenue, and then fully open would be 75% of your normal revenue. Now for nonprofit entities, again, same thing, priority will only be used if we are oversubscribed. The first priority will be that you provided food for the community on an ongoing basis. The second one, you'd be providing childcare for the community on an ongoing basis. And the third is that you provided other household needs, such as clothing for the community on an ongoing basis. If you did not provide any community need, you're eligible for the $5,000 mark, and that would be on the last priority. Again, religious organizations can qualify if they meet the outlined guidelines that have been provided. If you receive PPP funding, that would be used as a tiebreaker for both the for-profit and nonprofit portion. It will not be an eliminating factor, but just used in case we are oversubscribed. And the Board of Supervisors will see a final list of organizations of the nonprofit before funding occurs. Now, the application process will open on September 4th. The final deadline is September 18th. This is our last round of the From Fluvanna Small Business Grants, so please make sure you have everything complete by September 18th. Funds will start being distributed in late September and early October. What you will need to apply, you will need the application, which will be available once you are invited to apply for the grant. It is online and through the portal, and I'll explain a little bit more about the portal. But the application's rather simple. It's a couple pages just to discuss what your company information is, such as phone number, name, address, all of that, along with what you will be applying for. If you're a nonprofit, you must submit your IRS determination letter, and if you are applying for community need, how you met that community need. If you're a for-profit entity, you'll need to submit your Form 941. It's your most recent quarterly filing, and that is so we can confirm your employee count. Then you need to submit your 2019 tax return or your 2019 1099 if you're a nonprofit. If you have not filed your taxes yet, then you need to do your 2019 profit and loss statement. Then we need to see how, if you have loss of revenue you're looking for, we need to compare that same time frame from 2020 to 2019. You can do that a number of ways, through your profit and loss statement, or you can do it through your bank statements. And then a list of the qualifying expenses the grant will be used for. Remember, it can only go to March 1st. We cannot give you money for anything that occurred before March 1st. And if you are asking for a future expense, such as a redesign of your structure, it's going to be a little bit more difficult in this round because we have less time available to us. We will need to know that is completed by October 15th. If it's not completed by October 15th, the money will have to be returned for that item. Now, the application process. You will receive an email from the Community Investment Collaborative inviting you to LenderFit. The Community Investment Collaborative is handling our application process for us, and they will be making decisions on your application. So LenderFit is the portal that you will be invited to. Make sure you look for emails from LenderFit. Sometimes they go into people's junk mail, so please be on the lookout for LenderFit emails. Everything that CIC does to communicate with you will be through LenderFit, and you will receive emails through LenderFit. So please do not delete any emails from LenderFit. I cannot say that and emphasize it enough. That was a huge problem from round one, so please be on the lookout for that. You will then submit your application through the LenderFit portal. CIC will review the applications and make announcements determining how much money you are eligible for. Then you must, once they've alerted you that yes, you are eligible for this amount, we have approved you for this amount, you then must submit your ACH information for funding through the LenderFit portal, and then CIC will fund you. If you have a future renovation cost, the Economic Development Office will check in on or about October 15th to make sure that those items have been completed. And now I'll be available for any questions that you may have.